Hello everyone, we are back with our lessons. So today we are going to do z-score, and we are also going to learn z-table. So here we are going to determine the area under the curve using z-score and z-table. This is an example of normal distributions. For the last lesson, we have talked about what is normal distributions and what are the characteristics of normal distributions. Right? We are just showing you some example of problems that relate to normal distribution and how we can use it to solve these problems. Right, so this is what this lesson is all about. But before we get started, we must understand what is z-score. So from our previous lesson, z-score is just how many standard deviation from the mean, whether it is less than mean or it is more than mean. Okay, then negative z, meaning to say it is less than the average or the mean. A positive z, meaning to say it is more than the average. Okay, so I hope it is clear. And then z-table, that you can download z-table in iLearn and also in our class note. So you will need this one for exam, but for exam I will give you this table, so don't worry. This is some of the questions that we can solve using normal distribution. So let's look at this example. The height and the portion of first year student are normally distributed with the mean of 150 and the standard deviation of 20 cm. Now Ron is 161.4 cm. So the question is usually like this. It will give you the mean and the standard deviation, and it will ask you what is the percentage or proportions of students between this value and that values. So the pattern of questions is almost the same every time. So you need to learn this pattern, and then from this you know that this question is for normal distribution. So when you look at this first steps, of course, don't panic. After that, just draw the normal distribution curve. So the first question is asking you, what is the proportion of students shorter than Ron? So we have already informations that the average height is 150 and Ron is 161, and now we are interested to find the proportions or percentage of students shorter than 161.4. So first you need to draw the bell curve, the normal distributions. So this is very important for you to do, but because first it will help you to visualize which area that you want to find, and secondly, of course, it helps you to get marks because it is showing you that you know which area that you are looking at. So this is very important. So when you look at the normal curve like this, let's assume this is the one you draw. Then first you start with the curve, and then in the middle here, this is the mean. Our mean is 150. This is already given to you. So if the question does not give you this information, you need to find it, but usually it is given, so you don't have to worry about that. And then the region that we are interested in is proportion of students shorter than Ron. So this is all the way from Ron height here. Imagine this is Ron, and all the way to the left. This is the area that we want to find. Okay? So once we have established these facts, and then we need to calculate z-score. This is a very simple formula to calculate z. Then we need x. X is our value of interest here, which is Ron's height, 161.4. Then this is the mean. We have 150 divided by the standard deviation 20. Just substitute the value in, Just press your calculator, you get 0.57. So this is not over yet. This is just the z-score. So z equal to 0.57. So meaning to say this is 0.57 standard deviation above the mean. So we can know that this is bigger than mean. So let's look at z table now. Okay, in z table we have two sets of z table. One is the positive z table and the other one is the negative z table. So if you notice in your sheets, you will notice there are two sides. So how to select these two sides is very easy. You look at your z value. Is it a positive or a negative z? So if it is a positive z value, then just use the positive z table. If it is negative, then just use the negative z table. I think that is very easy. So this is how your z table will look like. So please notice that in the first row here and the first column here, this is how you find z. Our z just now is 0.57. So we need to locate where it is 0.57 over here. Okay. Our z is 0.57. So we need to find 0.5 first here. And then this is 0.50. This is 0.51, 0.52, 0.53, 0.54, 0.55, 0.56, 0.57. So this is the value that we want. What this value means? So this is the frequently asked questions. So these values here represent proportions, probabilities. You can change this value into a percentage. It will be 71.57%. But in this case, we write it as this. And since this is a probability, the maximum value for this is 1. So this is the value that we want. And this is the answer. So meaning to say this entire area is 71.57%. So please remember that the whatever values that you get from the z table, it will always show you the value from the point of interest all the way to the left. Okay, this is the left side. It will always show you from this point all the way to the left. Right? So this answers directly our question here. So we need to say 71.57% of students are shorter than Ron. Right, so that answers the first questions that we have about what is the proportion of students shorter than Ron. And now we want to find proportion of students taller than Ron, meaning to say it's not from this side, but we want to investigate this side. So if you calculate z-score for this, you will also get the same figure. From this figure, if you look at the z table, you will also get the same because your x is the same. So if you don't get the same, meaning to say is something wrong with your calculation somewhere. So you need to check it back. But because in this case, our point of interest here, our x, is the same, still maintained, we are still looking at Ron's, so 161.4, so this remain unchanged. So what changed here is that because we know that all area equal to 1, so this is important for you to note, all area is equal to 1. So to get this area, you just take 1 minus whatever area here, isn't it? So let's say this area is maybe A. Then 1 minus A, then you get this area. So in this case, 1 minus 71.57, we get 0.2843. So this is the answer for the second question. Okay. So these are the property of normal distributions. Everything is equal to 1. To get this portion, 1 minus whatever that is left, and you get this. Okay, so I hope that clear for the second one. So what about somewhere in between? We want to find the portion of student between Malfoy 125 and Ron. Now you have 2 points of interest, 2x, so let's say x1. When you calculate the z-score, it is negative. Why it is negative? Because this is below the mean. It will always give you a negative z. If it is more than mean, this is what you have done earlier on. So this remain unchanged. You just need to do this first one. So that is why I mentioned to you, it is a very good idea for you to draw this, so that we know each area that we want to find. So we are interested in finding this to this. So from here, x1, when you look at the z table, now you are looking at the negative z table, because your z is negative. Your z is equal to negative 1.25. So when you look at your table, just find negative 1.2. This is negative 1.20, negative 1.21, all the way to negative 1.25. Then you get 0.1056. And the second one, of course, is the same, because we are still using the same x. So you will still get 0.7157. This is the same as the first question just now, and the second. So since you know that, from z table always show you the value from the point of interest all the way to the left. So to get this area, meaning to say this area minus this area, isn't it? So let's say we call this area A, we call this area B. Then this area is equal to A minus B. Then you get this area. So once you get this concept, when you draw this beautifully, it is quite easy for you to calculate the shaded area that you want to find. So the answer, this minus this, you get 0.6101. So that's it. I think that is quite simple, but this kind of questions carries a lot of marks, because it requires drawing, requires tables, a little bit of calculations, and maybe some conclusions. So it is a good way to get marks. So that's it for the lesson for today.